Hello and welcome to my world. I'm of course Fred Kasdan. As you know, 7 nights a week I stream live over on Twitch playing a variety of video games, and the link to my Twitch channel can be found in the description below. And towards the end of each week I end up doing a commentary video based on anything that interests me, either something game related or maybe something related to pop culture. The former more likely than the latter in this case. Last night, on the 15th of May, give you an idea of this type of this recording, started playing the Trials of Mana, the remake, which was recently came out a few weeks ago. I want to thank Mech, one of my regular viewers over on Twitch, for hooking me up with a copy of the game. So we finally got around to playing it last night. I am playing the PC version of this game because I don't have a Nintendo Switch or a PS4. So the concern really came down to, would my computer actually be able to run it? Because some of the specs of my PC do not exactly meet the minimum requirements for actually being able to play this game, primarily as it relates to the graphics card. But yeah, that's neither here nor there at this point. And one thing I mentioned, the Trials of Mana is, as it turns out, obviously is a remake of a game which I actually did heard of, but it also is part of a series, and I did not know about that until last night. So, and I've never played any of the Mana games prior to this one, so I am somewhat thankful that in terms of just about of every other Square Enix JRPG that has come out since the beginning of time, or the beginning of their company, uh, apparently there's no need for me to play the other stories games to at least understand the things that are happening in this particular game, as it's essentially the standard save the world plot with characters growing along the way. It's the mana tree is being depleted, it's withering, and you gotta wake up another deity to help get things set in order, and there's all sorts of evil shenanigans running around and so forth. Graphically, the game definitely looks gorgeous as far as I'm concerned, as and has the typical let's say like an anime type vibe. But again, it's a JRPG, so not totally surprised there. Nor am I surprised as with how some of the characters are designed and with their chosen attires. So it's like, it is what it is there, and I am thankful for it. But the overall world and everything and the areas that you're traveling through are bright and colorful for the most part. Nothing has been dark and dreary. Even uh the few interior caverns that I've traversed through in the initial 4.5 hour playthrough, in terms of getting familiar with everything, it's bright, it's colorful, it has a nice vibe to it that just makes it, totally chill to look at as I'm playing. So the music is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the big strong suits of the game. It's has a nice adventure vibe that definitely reminds me in many ways of the Grandia 1 and 2, where you had a nice soundtrack that just makes you want to bob your head and just move along to, and just it's just a joy to listen to. So again, two good points in that, in this game's favor, with a third point being that didn't really take me too long to figure out the controls for the most part. I do find some of the menu navigation to be a bit perplexing at times. But that's more probably a design choice that was carried over from the original version of the game for as far as I know. But in terms of moving around, the cameras and the combat, everything is really responsive since I'm using an Xbox One controller. It, things definitely work out in terms of being very similar to the other RPG that I'm playing as of late and featuring heavily on my Twitch channel, Final Fantasy 15. In fact, the similarities in terms of the combat is not lost on me. A is jump, B is your standard attacks, X is to evade, Y is for your heavier and more powerful attacks. So it all balances out from there. Matter of fact, to use some of the characters' in-game special abilities here, you're basically pushing one of the bumper buttons and initiating the attack. I think it's left bumper in this game, and it's right bumper in Final Fantasy 15. So it really has a a nice flow to it. Again, as far as I'm concerned, the bit in terms of characters, I have not. I've gone with Duran, Hawkeye, and Reese as my initial three characters. Totally blind in picking them. I was just looking at their stories and their stats and figuring out, okay, these will probably be the most balanced, and and the the descriptors really had no other way of figuring out what will be the best, default party to work with. And I do like how, in terms of, you do interact with some of the characters that you don't pick for your party. Charlotte shows up and apparently is a um for has a role to play in it, and so this game is being told from different perspectives, and I'm guessing that perspective is based on whoever is the main character is, like your lead character. And then you get your companions, and you get to see their backstories, or what essentially ends up being their version of the tutorial going forward, which in its own way does make me wonder how many playthroughs are required to finish the game. Because in most games, as far as I'm concerned, you just do one playthrough, and that's it. Maybe a new game plus if you are feeling that motivated and going for 100% completion, which is very rare for me in some cases, unless I'm really sure what it is I'm of objectives I'm needing to deal with. But you got six main protagonists, and so unless the stories are fully completable, like doing three are completable in one playthrough, and then you do a second playthrough with the other three characters, it this game asking for six playthroughs with different combinations. It does raise eyebrows and concerns in that regard, because essentially every character has their own way, has their own story. Duran's is okay. He was on guard duty. He fell asleep. The Crimson Wizard shows up and basically wipes out the entire night shift guards that were on duty. Reese's idiot brother Elliot let two dudes into a cavern underneath the Citadel Castle, and turned off the defenses, and her hometown, the Citadel, and all her fellow Amazons got wiped out. And Hawkeye, apparently the leader of his thieves guild, has got swayed by a rather bunksome wench named Isabella, and he's now an outcast, and he's setting out to set things right. I'm not sure what Charlotte's Kevin's and what was the other character or Angela's motivations are as well. But there is also that other caveat that certain characters and certain story arcs definitely overlap. It's like Hawkeye is from Navarro, and it's his people that basically invaded Laurent, which is where Reese's is from. Duran has no direct connection to them, but Duran has, looking at a Wikipedia, has definitely a connection more with Angela in terms of their story arcs overarching. Charlotte's will probably be involved in two of the three, and I think we came across the Kevin, at least him hiding in and I forget, not Astoria, but the port town that you end up arriving in. So all those different factors there. So all these character stories overlap in some shape, way, or form, as far as I'm concerned. So again, it makes me wonder how many playthroughs are warranted to completing the game. But overall, I enjoyed it. I liked what I experienced, and I definitely will be streaming this game at least once a week until we finish up Final Fantasy 15, and this game will probably move into the 2 nights a week slot, just to make sure. Because generally, I don't play two big major games consecutively, because one would definitely get more time dedicated to than the other. But that's the way we are rolling going forward. Anyway, those are my thoughts, opinions, rants, and ravings regarding the Trials of Mana after just one night. If you have your thoughts and opinions regarding this game, leave them in the description below. Don't worry about spoilers, because chances are I'm going to be looking at Wikipedias and things to figure out where the hell I need to go and try to figure out things going forward in case there are any real puzzles. So till next time, my friends, and you are my friends, tighten your friendship bracelets, watch your hang down, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.